Good day, my friends. We are in a discussion of the lymphatic system. More of the great lymph system here. So Marcie and I were just poring over some latest research here. She's looking over a paper from, is this the University of Virginia?
Yeah.
And they found more lymphatic vessels. And this research was, these were neurosurgeons. And this wasn't a symposium, this was this symposium, but this one, what they found was a lymph system. I think it's part of the lymphatic system. If not, it's still part of the regular lymph system of the central nervous system. Because according to this research, they always ask themselves about where's the lymph system to the central nervous system? Well, where's the lymph system to the kidneys? You see what we're saying? In other words, finally, we're getting confirmation of the things we've been talking about for years here. And this is just good to see. This is Professor Kipnis, PhD. He's at the University of Virginia. And let me see what it says. We believe that every neurological disease that has an immune component to it, these vessels may play a major role. So what they're surmising is that the lymph system plays a major role in all neurological diseases, which it's obvious. We've been saying that the lymph system is at the core of all their so-called diseases. And this is good stuff. There has never been a lymphatic system for the central nervous system, and it was very clear from that first singular observation, and they've done many studies since then to boost the finding that it will fundamentally change the way people look at the central nervous system's relationship to the immune system. Now, they call the immune system the lymph system, which it is all the same. It's a sewer system, the immune system, and, of course, the lipid carrier system. I find this pretty cool stuff here. Yeah. It says, as to how the brain's lymphatic vessels manage to escape notice all this time, Kipnis described them as very well hidden. I think that's interesting. And noted that they follow a major blood vessel down into the sinuses, an area difficult to imagine. It is, see all the mucus you get in the sinuses?
And it's difficult to see. It's an image.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you know how your sinuses get full of mucus and all this? This is just an expectoration port. All your holes can be used as expectoration holes. And they do. We get mucus out of the nose. We get mucus out of the ears, mucus vaginally. Some people get mucus out of the belly button. All kinds of trash. These are exit points. And once you learn that and how simple that is, then everything is, oh, wow, all this money, all these deaths, all this medical bull crap, because we did not intellectually understand the body, but simplistically it's easy to understand the body. And we've been talking about that. This is good stuff. It's so close to the blood vessel, you just miss it. He said, if you don't know what you're looking after. And that's the point, and that leads us into this next study here we want to go over just a minute with. Now get this, and I wanted to read this to you because you guys are the cream of the crop out there. And we want to keep our information together. And so you guys will be fed. When you come up with stuff, you find stuff, send it to us. We'll bring it out with everybody because this is an educational site. We want everybody to get on board, but I love this one. The unexpected presence of the lymphatic vessels raises a tremendous number of questions that now need answers, both about the workings of the brain and the diseases that plague it. See, they're still caught on that disease terminology and thinking. So I've said this many times, the allopathic community works from the ass end of the donkey first. You got to start at the front, and then the picture of the animal becomes present. And so it says, for example, take Olson.
You can't figure out a motor by looking at the tailpipe.
You would think that because you used to race cars.
No, I was in Demolition Derby.
Oh, Demolition.
Demolition
that's just
Derby.
as bad. Demolition Derby, holy crap. Oh, get this one. Take, for example, Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, there are an accumulation of big protein chunks in the brain. Now, everybody, I don't know if you ever read research papers, we were talking about this with the cancer cells, and we told you we're getting this up on site slowly, but it is going up. But you see all these proteins / acids that have clumped around a cell. Well, what does that do to the cell wall, do you think? All right? So acids harden things eventually. And so then inside the cell, you can imagine all the acids that are produced from all the organelles in the cell going to start blowing back on the cell. We talked about this yesterday on a video about keeping urine on a baby's bottom all day long and then taking the diaper off, and what do you see? And imagine carrying acids in your tissues for 20, 30, 40 years, let alone one day. So you see, if you understand that as a parent and see what acid urine can do, and this, by the way, is after the bacteria in the lymph nodes have taken it from a 3 pH roughly to a 6, and it still has a burn. So you can imagine, just thinking of that, what the burn is like inside around the cell and then in the cell. You can see why damage is occurring and why the word inflammation. And of course in Alzheimer's and all cases, guys, proteins, acids have fundamentally not been removed by the lymph system. Because here's the question that they're going to ask themselves now that it's the lymph system, why aren't these proteins or acids being removed out of the brain? Which she made reference to that on the lymphatic system, right?
Yep.
And this is going back to what system gets rid of acids. And if it was the blood, they wouldn't be there. Understanding pHs, you already know, guys, you can't put proteins in the blood too much or you're taking another trip. So this is just wanted to correlate research, latest research, with what we've been saying for years. And so now you guys know that truth is becoming more known slowly, allopathically, but that's always been the case.
Yeah.
Naturopaths have always been 50 years to 100 years ahead of allopaths. Yeah. No offense, but it's just because of the way, it's what you look at. And you can waste your time. That's why we say get out of your mind, because you can spend years looking at something and it's not even true.
Truth unlocks truth. They have found a little bit of truth, and now it's opened up all these questions. Well, if that's the case, what else can be the case? What else is there? The truth will set you free. Truth unlocks truth. Absolutely.
And you get this. This PhDer here. He says, we think they may be accumulating, these are protein particles, in the brain because they're not being effectively removed by these vessels, referring to the lymphatic vessels they just found. Excuse me? See, this is why detoxification, this is why acids and proteins have to be eliminated, because this is the core problem. What everybody thought about proteins is the opposite. Proteins has been our problem, not our savior. And we see this, and we've seen this, and this is why naturopathy takes protein out of your diet and moves you towards simple amino acids. Supposed to. Naturopathy, I said. Naturopathic medicine, these guys belly up to the protein table. You don't save people that way. But this is just, I wanted to read this research to you. And there are an enormous array of other neurological diseases, of course, from autism to multiple sclerosis, that may be considered in light of the presence of something science insisted did not exist. So I want to link that. In science, proclaimed that the lymph system didn't exist in the brain. They also proclaimed that the world was flat. So you're talking about science, and we play a lot of importance, Marcie and I, on science. I'm a science mind, I'm a chemist, science I love, but you gotta listen to this. And I've told you this before about 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes years ago did a study on double-blind studies. And they found just what this study found, and this is interesting stuff here. Where did we find out this was done? Oh, this was a symposium. Oh, man, this is even worse. This was a symposium in London, basically from neurosurgeons and the like, immunoneurosurgeons, but all kinds of docs were here. But it's enough to say that what this symposium was about was the reproducibility and reliability of biochemical research held in the Wellcome Trust in London. Now, they were looking at, they were touching on one of the most sensitive issues in science today. And this is important that everybody understand this, and I've been saying this, and I know some of you maybe beat me up for it, is that the idea that something has gone fundamentally wrong with one of our greatest human creations. And it said, because these studies are affected by small study sizes, teeny effects, invalid exploratory analysis, and flagrant conflicts of interest, together with an obsession for pursuing fashionable trends of dubious importance, science has taken a turn toward darkness. Now, these are medical doctors and physicists talking about it, more physicists than not, talking about this. Now, physicists are those that understand how creation is put together, understands energy and how that manifests into chemistry and things like this. So physics has always been my passion to know, and it's so intellectual, but it sits at the top of chemistry. Chemistry is the fundamental lower science. And so this is highly interesting, and it's saying that at least half, they think at least half of the Academy of Medical Sciences Medical Research Council and Biotechnology and Biological Sciences Research Council have now put their reputation weight behind an investigation into questionable research papers. In other words, and we've said this before, that half of these scientific researches they're showing people are lies, are total lies. And 60 Minutes found the same thing. So keep life simple, and it will manifest truth every time for you. This just goes on and on. It said they found that they have retrofitted hypotheses to fit their data. And again, we were talking about this, and you brought up a good thing. It isn't science that's fundamentally bad, it's scientists. And the reason is, and it's the mind. You have to understand that these are just souls using minds and emotional bodies and physical bodies and things like this. It's the mind that's aberrated. It's the mind that becomes narcissistic and blinded. It's consciousness or awareness that sees everything. So these are people that are gotten too intellectual, and so they just fit their hypothesis or theory. Remember, in biochemistry, because if you study chemistry or biochemistry, there's one thing that's quite evident, and that is thanks, appreciate it, thank you, that these studies, many of them are untrue. And they're theories that people have. But where do these theories come from? And again, it comes out of the mind, other people's concepts and ideas.
They need to be recognized.
That's in here too.
Stretching what is truth so that it says what your theory is so that you can be recognized.
You notice, I've been watching the news a lot, of course, and you know what else it does? It makes the stocks of the company go up. I see this every once in a while where a company will release a media blurb, and it'll be about something that has a possible benefit in the future. Some pharmaceutical, predominantly around chemo, but other things. And I watch their stocks, and they go soaring.
Yeah.
So you're in this kind of world, guys, and this is why we've said repeatedly, protect yourself. Keep your lives simple. We're frugivores. So you eat your fruit. You find the best fruit you can. You eat your salads. If you want, you eat your salads. But detox is key. Get into these lymph systems that the medical doctors are just now finding, and it'll be hell-bent before the local GP even sees this or even understands this. No offense, but the local GPs, they don't think about the lymph systems or anything like that. You get comfy in your prescribing of pharmaceuticals.
The one doctor said that when this was discovered, his very first words or sentence was, I don't remember where it's at, but they're going to have to change the textbooks.
Oh, yeah, he says that, and I think it's on the back page here, on the back of there somewhere, where they're going to have to change the textbooks. And this is the way it is. Matter of fact, this is why I say sometimes get your head out of textbooks. We have one guy here thinking that I should tell you all to read all kinds of books. We do that. Matter of fact, all of you that have come to my classes, notice we have a pretty nice book room. A real nice book room. Because Marcie and I are about education, and truth is truth. Everybody has a different piece on truth. We think we have some of the higher truths. But there's always more truths to discover and more to learn, no question. So we're lucky we're uncovered it at this point if you look at the rest of the world. So, yes, highly recommend you read Eric's books, natural hygienic books, understand, and work on yourself. You know, a lot of people think life is an intellectual experience. It's not. Practice on yourself. Go all raw. Then go all fruit. See the difference. Fruit isn't going to rip you. This guy's suggesting that fruits are going to rip you, and it's like, come on, give me a break. You know, if you're highly toxic, you're going to know it. You can back down. All those sort of things. The artfulness of detoxification. Right. But we always recommend fruit in detoxification, and always will. Always will.
Even if you need to pull yourself out of a healing crisis, my first thing is I go to the sweeter fruits, the bananas, the coconuts, the things like that to pull myself out gentler.
Exactly.
And before I jump to vegetables right away. If that doesn't help, then I'll move to the vegetables or the steamed vegetables. Yeah. But you can rip up your intestines a lot if you jump from a fruit fast detoxing and jump too quickly to the vegetables to try and slow yourself down. You need to, there's a pace to it, there's an art to it, there's a beauty to it.
Yeah, and you find those things out working on yourself. You have plenty of books out there on fasting. I would suggest books on fruitarianism, and I've said this before, this health research. Google Health Research. This is a great company. They have these old books from Tilden way back into not only McFadden, but they have Bernard, what is his name? Him and Hotima always battled between, of course they were metaphysicians, they were into God and looking at life metaphysically, but they were also, Tilden was, not Tilden, but Hotima, which is George Clements, he was into fruitarianism, although you could tell he wasn't doing it and you looked at his body. But that was his whole thought on that. But yeah, a lot of the greats, and we bring a ton of these books because I push education at that level. At the same time, you got to know when to stop reading and start practicing on yourself because you're reading other people's opinions, and even the natural hygienic people fail to understand the value of herbs. So then they just dub herbs toxic. If you dub herbs toxic, I don't care if you're Herbert Shelton, you got a screw loose. I don't care who you are.
There's also a very fine line. You don't want to exchange knowledge for wisdom.
Hello.
There's wisdom and then there's knowledge.
Now here's another thing too. This was 100 years ago, 75 years ago. What I did 40-some years ago is not what I do right now. And the same with you guys. What you did years ago, you're not doing right now unless you really have a habitual habit. You're really doing totally different. You're learning from the past and growing from that. That's the whole idea. Right. That's why I'm teaching you guys, because you're going to be smarter than we are. I'm trying to get Marcie smarter than I am on these, and because she's got that kind of research brain like me. That's the whole idea, is to pass on our understanding to the next generation, because they're going to be smarter and better. There's no ego involved here. Not with that. Are you kidding? That's the law of the land. Higher souls come in, we build everything up, and creation goes up and up and up. It's just stuck right now. And there's too many deaths with allopathic thinking. We have to infuse it a little bit with some higher level thinking. And we're just showing you scientifically what we're saying is true.
And this has to be a vessel. What you receive, you give. You hold on to it and you hoard it. You're stealing from. I mean, you're keeping that, and that's supposed to be a gift. Yeah. Give it.
It'll burn or not give you anymore. Exactly. Boy, masters talk about that all over the world. You know.
Yeah. And I just wanted to go back to one thing here. Kipnis was skeptical initially. This is back to the lymphatic and all of that.
Or the other lymphatic vessels they found.
I really did not believe there are structures in the body that we are not aware of. I thought the body was mapped. When you think you know the answer, You no longer search or ask. I would love, Robert and I have talked about this so many times. I would love to be in where they are dissecting the body and ask the questions that they're not asking. They're not searching for the connection, the lymphatic to the kidneys, because they don't think it's there. Get in there and start asking questions. Start figuring out where and how is this linked to this, and you'll have discoveries, unreal discoveries.
Well, I think
about the body that hasn't been found yet.
Absolutely. I think also what you're saying is, even scientifically, when you enter science, science is already what exists. Science is totally an observed study of the things that God already made, or the Creator, or however you wish to look at it. Things that are already existing. That's what science is, an observation of that. The problem with that is you have to be somewhat spiritual as a professor to be able to understand and see things, just like this guy said, we weren't looking for it, we didn't see it, because they entered the body from a preconceived conception or idealism from other books that were written by other people that examined the body and got opinions from that. So it's opinion on top of opinion on top of opinion. Yep. And this is what we're talking about. You have to first step back and say, listen, you have to be able to feed chemistry to cells, but you also know that in the chemical metabolism and all that implies of the cycles like the Krebs and the ionization factors and all these base balancing factors from your cationics, catabolics to your anionics and cationics. All these processes yield residues. Everybody knows this, and the residues are proteins or acids. Plus, people are sucking down all the extra proteins in the body. Hopefully, they don't get absorbed that much. So there's so much protein that's involved here, and this is the thing. You have to sit back and ask simple questions and then go looking for how that is. You have to look a little that way. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't just keep looking in the mind and building on top of people's ideas that wrote books and other people's theories, because that's what we have. A medical community that kills millions worldwide every year, and it's just ridiculous theory on top of ridiculous theory on top of ridiculous theory. Now, some of the smarter MDs and the research professors are now getting into some vital areas, and hopefully this will bring...
The ones who got into medicine, or I don't even want to use the word medicine, but got into being a doctor because they truly wanted to help, they're either going to get into this system and get sucked into it, and that dream, that vision is going to get pulled farther and farther away, or they're going to start eventually saying, wait a minute, this isn't working. This isn't working. Why isn't it working? The ones who are truly called and passionate about helping people are going to see a system that isn't working, and they're going to start waking up, and they're going to start asking questions.
And this is spiritual medical doctors.
Those are the ones that we want in the umbrella that we've been talking about.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
And we have an osteopath. She wants to come and work with us. And so we have many osteopaths that have asked me through the years. And so this is all exciting stuff. And this is why we want to see you, those of you that want to be healers, get out there. And you know, people sometimes are so afraid of every little thing in life that it's, oh, you got to read and study. Oh, you got to be careful. Come on, give me a break. You know, strap the boots on, strap the strap on, jump on the bull and ride it. I mean, give me a break. You know, sometimes people have way too much fear over nothing. And you have to be careful with that. Yes, there's detox symptoms. You're going to enjoy some of them because you're going to always have them. And I've had so many years of this. And then on top of it, so's the other guys. Look at Arnold Arrett and things. But remember this, guys. These guys are way back there. We've had a lot of years, us that studied them 40, 50 years ago. Those are the people we studied. We took what they studied and expanded it. And that's what we expect you to do. Take what we've done and expand it. I'm taking what Jensen did in iridology and expanding it.
What you focus on expands. Don't focus on the fear. Focus on this
the fun
aspect,
of it.
Exactly, the fun of it.
Yeah,
this is fun.
This is fun for us because now we're seeing corroboration after corroboration after corroboration, and the fact that half of the studies, and this is so true, and Miss Tenpenny will definitely, Dr. Tenpenny would definitely agree with this one, is that in the case of vaccines, a lot of studies were changed at CDC centers, so that means CDC centers are corrupt as hell. And that's that. And she was saying in her video that a lot of medical doctors don't even hear the truth. Mm-hmm. They hear the propaganda, and they base their belief systems on the propaganda. Mm-hmm. So,
that begs the question: why would why would they want to change the studies?
Begs a big question, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So that brings you right into where? Pharmaceutical world. And pharmaceutical land is a very corrupt, money-making land. And I think if you tie to all this, you'll take it right to the World Bank. Mm. I think you really will. Because, I mean, if Disney World borrows from the World Bank, I'm sure everyone else does too.
Mickey borrows from...
Mickey? I'm not going to see Mickey anymore. Mickey, I'm frustrated with you. Look at this one here. And I'm going to read this one. This is from a quadriplegic. They're conversing with Jennifer here, and this is what did we say that was?
We think it's Gulio.
So it's hard.
Bastian.
We're both farmers from Indiana, but anyway, this is a quad that says it has bone marrow involvement and a complete spinal cord separation, and he's wanting to know. He says. Dr. Morse, do they think quadriplegia, bone marrow involvement, is not reversible even when the medical diagnosis indicates that the spinal cord is severed? Let me see what else here. Morse, before I get into anything, I understand that he could give me an answer to a video. Okay, I'm doing that there, my friend. I do not know what is that, the GI tract. The GI tract is the stomach. Actually, the GI tract starts in the mouth, and it's all the way down to your anus. Gastrointestinal.
What goes in and what comes out, and all in between.
All in between. Gastro means stomach, so it's gastrointestinal, stomach and intestines, but really the esophagus and your mouth, your tongue, is all just an extension of your bowels, all your digestive tract. So, I mean, it's because you notice your mouth turns, and when you start to fast, you get real dark stuff on the tongue and stuff, and odorous and smelly, and you get this tonsil thing. Oh, this is all the lymph system and all that gets involved. To be honest, for now, I'm not still entirely convinced by the approach nature path to Dr. Morse. I'm pretty convinced by the arguments of Shelton on plants. Unfortunately, I do not read English in the text, so we'll go on with that. Okay, so, and I did mention, we talked about that, I think, yesterday in a video, quadriplegia, neurological problems, because we just seem to have a lot of questions neurologically. And we also had questions all over the place about the immune system, and about allergies. It seemed one allergy after another allergy after another allergy. So understanding the lymph system is everything to everyone, and this includes quadriplegia, because tissue regenerates. I don't care where you are, and the only thing I can tell you is a case where we had a C3, C4 quad, head-on car crash, complete spinal cord separation. She had been down 12 years when I got her, and we have a video on her, I believe, her and Roger. Yeah, I think you just see Roger up on the YouTube, but we have a female with a next higher injury. With her, she had learned at C3, C4, she had learned to wean herself off of the ventilator, which was very impressive. And I wanted her to live because I wanted her to teach other quads how to wean themselves off the ventilator, especially the C3, C4 down. I don't know about the C2, C3. That's up there, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm not an expert on these things, just what we've done. So it took me 11 months, but I'd had it totally reconnected. Before, you could punch a screwdriver in her foot and she'd never known it. Mm-hmm. And she moved her wheelchair with her tongue because there was no other movement around. So 11 months, I totally had it reconnected. You could touch your toe, which toe were you on, she could tell you. She could tell you everywhere you were touching her. And I told you about this story where I had called a lot of these places that deal with spinal cord injuries, and they couldn't believe it. They said, get her on the floor, crawling and walking like a baby so she can get that mind-to-body coordination again. I thought it was quite interesting. Mm-hmm. But it's enough to say that I'm in a total regeneration thinker. Marcie is, we all are, because that's what we see, and that's what has to take place. It isn't just about detox, it's about regeneration of tissue. And it's very essential, bone marrow included.
Your goal isn't just to clean. There's a purpose for the cleaning, and it's regeneration.
Exactly. And so for all quads, I don't care what. Eating cooked foods and proteins and dairy products will bring you down and give you a life of decubiti, spasticity, mucus problems, breathing problems. You could just keep on going down that road. When you took this way, you can even get into self-movement, bowel movements. You get all kinds of things. And what I'm understanding here, this guy is having self-bowel movements. So with a complete spinal cord separation, that's pretty good. Because there's a rule, there's no such thing with a complete spinal cord separation at a higher quad injury. Defecation isn't something you do. You have help.
But we all know about the rules.
But we all know about the rules.
There's always an exception.
There's always an exception. And when we see these exceptions, we get smiles because they mean better regeneration.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to say on this video to you, my friend, what do you got to lose? You don't believe it or not, but raw foods are better than cooked. And if you don't believe that, well, then you're probably going to be a while before you learn about health. Because in every way, through chemistry and physics, can be demonstrated why you don't fire your foods and why no other animals do, and why we're the sickest animal on the planet, basically, physically. And this is some bad stuff. You have to realize you don't have to look further than your lifestyles. You create everything. Remember, we talked about cause and effect. Everything that you see in your world is your creation. And I've said you might have created it unconsciously. It's still your creation. We're just here to help you how to unwind it. And that's the fun part, because you get yourself free. And that's important. And if I'm sitting in a damn wheelchair, I want out of that thing. And I'm going to try anything to do it. So I submit to you, Julio, whatever the name is, challenge you. Get your butt on an all-raw fruit, berry, and melon diet for a year and see what happens. By the way, I would also get into herbs for regeneration. I would get my lymphatic system going, because that's a system that has to help you, not just the blood. Your lymph has got to carry these proteins and these damaged cells and all the inflammation. That's your lymph system. So on quadriplegia, even though you're talking about an injury to the spinal column, you're still after the lymph system, because it's the system that has to remove the acids out of those tissues before nerves can regenerate. And by the way, when you're talking about neural regeneration, you're not going to be sitting there talking about solids, because something Shelton didn't know is the electromagnetic levels of foods. He didn't know that fruits have the highest electromagnetic energy. There was a lot of failings that Shelton had, but he was still one cool dude, and he brought out a lot of stuff, and he had some great fasting clinics. I loved them. I loved Shilton, Tilden. Bragg was okay. I mean, I loved all those guys. Those were my mentors in the day. But we learn and grow. Keep that in mind. We learn and grow, and we better learn and grow, and that's what's not happening. It's not happening in allopathy. We're going back in naturopathy. Now we have naturopathic medicine, which is an oxymoron completely with naturopathy, and we have naturopaths recommending high-protein diets and medical thinking. These are narcissistic naturopaths, and it makes me want to throw up, because naturopathy was always a beautiful science of those that were spiritual-minded. Those true healers out there that have a compassion to see people well. So, quadriplegia, paraplegia, any neurological condition, go for it. But I'm telling you, fruits, berries, and melons. Forget the salads. What do you got to lose? Give you this. Try 6 months on salads and green drinks. And then after that, try 6 months on fruits, berries, and melons. You tell me.
And then you document it, and you do a video, and you send us the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would recommend, about after the second month, you get into Velvet Antler and you get into Pan-X Ginseng, and you can get those in combination and start super strengthening and regenerating your body. There's a lot of tricks you can do to regenerate tissue. So this is the beauty of nature, is we have so many tools and tricks to regenerate. It is unbelievable. So this is why this is so exciting. I love this. I love this.
Well, the thing is, you're looking at it from, you have to look at it from two perspectives. What the natural side of what we do does is build. Herbs build, fruits build, vegetables to some extent build. They're builder. We build. We talk about thought processes. You know, our thoughts, people don't tend to think of it, but the thoughts either tear down and are acidic, or they are alkaline. The studies out there, just 6 minutes of focusing on a negative thought, doubt, cynicism, things like that, has the tendency to bring the immune system down for up to 21 hours.
6 minutes. And people are negative for hours. People are negative for days. People are negative for years. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It's just they're suffering. These are suffering souls. But again, karma-driven. But still, you can unwind all this, guys. You're not helpless. No one's helpless out there. You got the tools. We're giving you the tools. We're giving you all this information because we need this world to change. And you guys are helping. And there's so many. We've got a new online course coming, level 1 and 2 online for you guys, and it's going to be a killer. And this lady putting it together for us, I love her. She's something else. But this is going to be and not expensive. When you look at, she was showing it, the expensive Hippocrates, almost $10,000 for a short course. Some other people were $4,000 and $5,000. We're going to prove we're God people. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to enjoy reasonable financing, and you're going to be able to have a lot of education. And man, we're expanding this like crazy. All this research we're going to put up there for you guys to sink your teeth in. So now you can put this in front of people's faces and go, hey. So this is all good stuff.
But not stopping there. Taking it and allowing questions to continue to grow. And build. And what they found here is going to end up having, we've talked about if they found this pump and this system up in here, what about the other end of the spine?
That's it. You have to have the other
end. Down by the
kidneys. That's it. And I'm sure she's thinking about that too, because she said you can't have the lymphatic system at just the top of the spine and not at the bottom, and then where are you going to go with it? You have to think about how does the body eliminate these proteins or acids. And of course there's the urine. I doubt seriously if you see that absorption into the stool at all. It's all about urine because you have the lymph nodes involved in this system, and vital to understand that lymph nodes and their job. Septic tanks. So this is all exciting stuff. We have fun doing this stuff, and I want you guys to have fun doing this stuff. You know, it's just getting yourself well is a journey, and some people argue over stupid things, and there's no need to, you know. Whether you want to try vegetables over fruits, you can go right ahead. Experiment on yourself. It's fun to do that. It's fun to say, hey, you know, I want to try a 3-day grape fast. I'm just going to try that. And do it. If you only make it a day or two, guess what? You made it a day or two. And you try it again. You keep working with your self-discipline at the same time. Remember yesterday I was telling you, find your center. Find your quiet place and spend some time there alone with yourself. After a while, you'll find that you're not alone in your most alone self. You're going to discover something else is there too.
When you start quieting this, you can start hearing.
Oh, man, that's another important thing. Now, that's another important thing you just brought up. Hearing, listening to spirit. How many people listen to this music within themselves? This guy one time, I was up in Indiana, and I was in Columbus, Indiana. And that's where Cummins Diesel is and all that. And so I'm from a small town about 16 miles deeper in the woods. And so I'm at this car dealer, and this old guy is buying a car. And I was looking at buying a car, and he was telling the salesman he hears this music. And he's been to one medical doctor after another. He's been to these Mayo clinics everywhere, and they can't get rid of it for him. So when he started to leave, I went up to him and said, do you ever think that's the celestial inner music you're hearing? Because he was an older guy, probably getting ready to tap out. And the music of God was playing. And he was hearing it. And he was trying to get rid of it instead of absorbing into it.
Exactly.
And try absorbing into the music of God, and you'll have a ride you'll never forget. So spirit makes itself into music. And so a lot of people in religions, and especially into Christianity, talks a lot about it. So does the Buddhist monks and everything, is the light of God. but only 2 on this planet talk about the sound of God with it. And that's the Radhaswami and Ekankar. They talk about the light and sound of God. And that's important. You must learn to listen and a lot, just what you said earlier, as you channel, you become that which you're channeling. So you become the essence of God itself.
They say that God has a still small voice. It's not that God doesn't talk. It's that God is whispering. And he is talking, but we've got so many voices and so much clutter. And
you
so
said
much
it. You said it
going
yesterday. The tree of knowledge. I mean, it goes
Yeah.
back to in Christianity, the garden and the tree of knowledge. What is the tree of knowledge to you guys? The mind. So as soon as you start using the mind, you come off your spirituality. You come off your awareness and inner creation. It's that simple. It's nothing.
When we took a bite, when we took a bite of the apple, we exchanged knowledge, or we exchanged wisdom for knowledge.
Exactly. Just what you said earlier. And you could say wisdom is awareness. And your awareness builds through your daily experiences, of course, but some of them knock you pretty good. You know, you've got positive and negative experiences in your classification, but all of them are there to mature you and teach you to let go. Especially now in what you're seeing in the world and the changes, you have to let go. And that's my problem sometimes, is I get over compassionate when I see the slaughter of our children. When the studies have been there for years that it kills most people that take it on. I mean, these are the sort of things that can unwind me. But at the same time, you got to learn to keep pulling yourself back till it's always, you reap what you sow. Jesus said it all the time. And just look at all that.
We just found out that my father's got an inoperable brain tumor, and the family is trying to decide what way they want to go. And as me sitting here, I have to let go.
Yeah.
I cannot push, I cannot force, I cannot rail, I cannot gnash my teeth and cry and say, what are you doing? Why are you thinking this way? I have to sit back, and I have to love, and I have to support, and I have to just pray that wisdom and discernment will be used.
Well, like you said, the family went into the oncologist and asked the oncologist if they could tape the session so the whole family could hear it, and they refused to let them tape it.
They didn't say absolutely not. They said we would prefer you did not.
Nice way of saying keep your cell phones off. We don't want you to hear what's going to be said there. So I just wanted to say in quadriplegia and anything like that, you have nothing to lose. And I can tell you, I've had a lot of years' experience with neurological rebuilding, and I've seen the Miami Project and all these different projects, and let me tell you, they're going nowhere. They take in people's millions and millions of dollars, and they're still playing with idiocy thinking. You've got to get to regeneration of the cell. If you're thinking you're going to electronically create regeneration in the body, you might be sitting a long time on a little bit of an electrical shock. You want to get in. There is regeneration of all tissue in the body. But as a neurological thinker, that's going to bring in more questions. And Marcie and I can answer those questions for you. And those are questions of energy and how to maintain energy. Because when you're talking about the nervous system and the spinal cord, you're talking about several things. You're talking about part of the lymph system, and you're also talking about the neurological system. So you got 2 big issues at hand, not just the vascular system. And of course, the neural system is a system all on its own. You got 2 big boys there, or 3 if you count both autonomics. So these are big deals, but there's always regeneration.
Absolutely. Well, just this whole, let's take this whole glymphatic system that they found and everything. This is spinal fluid. This is all along the spine. Anything that goes on in the spine is going to be neurological and have a neurological repercussion to it. Trauma is absolutely amazing. In the damage that can actually happen after a trauma, because the body is releasing things that it shouldn't release. You're getting out of balance, and that you can have that traumatic situation right there and right then, but down through the years, it builds.
Oh, yeah.
It builds.
Oh, yeah.
Just look at glutamate and how
yeah.
it is released in the body after a trauma and a head trauma and things like that.
Absolutely.
Well, you sever the spine, that's connected all up in here.
Yeah,
it cleans itself the same way.
And most of you guys just go on downhill. And it's like, no, you don't have to. And I'd say you know, you have absolutely nothing to lose to play and have fun with this and get yourself out of those chairs. Mm-hmm. And this is to MS and all of them. You might not, I don't know. It's just enough to say that you have nothing to lose.
We believe in regeneration.
We see it all day.
You may not actually see it in your lifetime of getting up out of that chair and moving everything. But what if 5 years down the road you're moving all of this? You know, time is your only limitation when you're on this path. Time is the only thing that limits.
Yeah. Well, with what I've seen, this is just with what I've seen. If you're a quad at any level, and you're not out of the chair in 2 years, you're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. Because there's no way you should be in that chair in 2 years. And that's with MS or anything else. You're not either all fruit. And remember, with the MS, guys, I push 100% fruit, don't I? I don't push vegetables and fruit. I push 100% fruit. Some of you, relax those laws a little bit and say, okay, just to keep some balance to the psychic. But that's not what I want, because in true regeneration of neurological conditions, to me, I haven't seen nothing, honey, under the vegetable banner, and I've seen everything in front of the fruit, berry, and melon banner. We can show you that through physics and electromagnetic energy, the high levels of this. We can demonstrate it in the digestive process, where there's minimal digestive energy loss required for fruits, a ton of energy loss trying to break down the cellulose and that of vegetables. Look at the difference, and we've said this before, of the length of the GI tract of a herbivore and the additional stomachs required. Most herbivores have 4 to 9 stomachs. You've got an intestinal tract at least 3 times longer than ours. Excuse me? Mm-hmm. So why is that? Look at the type of foods they have, look at the nature of the foods, and that will tell you. Well, when you're trying to repair the electrical department and you're losing half of your energy out of digestive, and then your other is cooked foods that have no energy, where are you going to rebuild that? And we've had this discussion. Even yesterday on a video, I discussed the same thing about cooking and the death of foods and the energy loss. Mm-hmm. And you cannot expect to regenerate when you're down around 1,000 angstroms or less every day of ingestion of energy. To me, if a vegetable is 9,000, and a raw vegetable, you can't regenerate neurologically at 9,000. Mm. You need something above 10. That's wow. That's like wow. Because that's only the fruits and the berries and the melons are up that high.
Yep.
So it's like wow. But you have to realize no one out there is getting regeneration. We have. No one out there is getting much unless they're in these higher levels. Now, you can get minor regeneration of neuropathies, and that was yesterday. You were talking about neuropathies. Neuropathies are not difficult to understand, but what breaks down or what causes neuropathy? Well, what side of chemistry are we talking about? Remember, always use chemistry. You're back to acids. Well, you can go right back to spinal cord injury, and what is keeping you down? Acids. Mm-hmm. Fix that, you fix yourself. So we appreciate it. I'm going to do a long video today. I know I've got a lot to go over here, but I'm going to try to come in this weekend and do Q&A and catch up on that. Yeah. But we really appreciate you taking your time and listening to us raving and stuff like that. We appreciate it very much. And we love you all.
Yes, we do.
And it's your time. This is your time to awaken and to visit Wellville and hopefully stay a while. Mm-hmm. So come on to Wellville with us and let's have a good time. Seminar hopefully in a year, and we'll all come together and have some fun.
Yes.
Keep those creative arts going. And some of you that are having out-of-body experience that are artists, draw us some paintings of what you're seeing, some of the spiritual cities that are there, and you'll see some pretty things. And if you can paint those, and in Eckankar, we always had art rooms because you had the top artists in the world always in Eckankar. And some of the beautiful cities and temples of wisdom that you can go and learn are just brings ecstasy, and just the beauty is just so awe-inspiring. And let this inspire you to search out God at other levels. Get so much of this physical attention off. Let go of this world for a while. It's too chemical, too mundane, and it's in a corrosive atmosphere right now. So pull away from that a little bit and play on higher levels. That's our word for the day. Love you guys.
Love you. And like Robert says, you have nothing to lose, but you do have everything to gain.
That's it.